call the meeting to order. What is it, about 12:04? Jeremy, you want to call roll of members?
Eaton,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Here.
Bradford, Hamel, Lieber,
Yes.
Stats, Decker.
Yes.
All right. Approval of the minutes. I believe those are attached here from the December 10th meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of December 10th, 2024.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, item 4, approval of financials to February 28th. Is there anything on there, Jeremy, that we need to be aware of?
No, I build up the pledges, so I did have a check that I had written after February 28th, but I was waiting for Noeda gave us the $20,000 that we normally get from them, and the morning meeting, the Industrial Authority gave the $7,500 that we normally get from them. So until I get like those big chunks, that's when we'll transition it over and it'll be in our actual account.
Okay.
What is most of that fundraising? I know that's for really the next fiscal year, but I mean, how does that go throughout?
Pretty much, because we have a weird,
Yeah.
how it works. So I really launch it right after the donor dinner and the mixer. I found last year I got us a few more that were the pledges, and also kind of gives me an idea as we're moving on. As long as we get the big bulks, which we did, and we have,
Okay.
we're good there. And then of course anything else on top of that is great. You know, there's some that we're like, well, I want to give you something this year, but it's not going to be a consistent thing. So,
Are we talking about the proposed budget yet, or?
oh, that budget, we already did that.
Okay, well, I just had a question though on the, I think I might ask this at one point. The insurance that you have under general office expenses, is that like board
Yeah,
E&O policy?
yeah, that's the insurance. That's really Woods County Industrial Development Authority.
Oh, that's the building.
And we pay $1,500
Gotcha,
of that.
okay.
But it's not just building; it's also the board members and their.
So it is the errors and omissions policy also?
Yeah, it has like all that that's involved.
Okay, who do you have that with?
It's ACO. It's.
Oh, yeah, that's right, okay.
It's
Okay, yeah.
considerably cheaper,
Oh,
even
yeah,
though
it
it's
is.
still pricey. But yeah.
Actually, it's not.
Well, I mean, still pricey in the sense of what you see on an insurance level
Well, that's why.
compared to 10 years ago. It's pricey, but it is the cheapest option that's there. And they are the ones that will order that, and $1,500 is what is given each time.
Okay. So are we holding up pretty steady, you think, on the actual compared to the proposed?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We've got some funding, and I mean, a lot of people don't know, but we also, there is the shared trust. That particular one that's in the CD is solely for my position. So it's to pay the admin of the Woods County Economic Development Committee's director. But because we fundraise, we don't really need to touch that or use that. So, I mean, there's that's there. Who knows? Perhaps one day we could see if there's other options for it. But that is there for where we are at.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials to February 28th, 2025.
Okay. Properly moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded to approve the financials to February 28th, 2025. Any discussion? Okay, Seeing none, proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right. Item number 5, update, discussion, possible action on Northwest Economic Developer Forum. Jeremy, you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, there won't be any action. I just kind of keep that there. You never know if there is, but about a year ago, I just talked to some of the economic developers in the region and asked them if they'd like to kind of get together and have a powwow session, and maybe even come up with a project that we can all use that may benefit us in our jobs. And they were interested, and then when I brought it up again with actually Yolanda in Weatherford, and Alex overheard it with OG&E, and she said, "Oh, I think it would be fantastic. We want to sponsor it." And so now it's become an event. So I said, well, since I came up with the idea, I want it to be in Alva first, so they'll spend some money here. And that's what's happening. And then it ended up that they're going to do the lunch for the event, and then I talked to a few other people. So Christy Eidelman, who a lot of people like from the donor dinner the first year we had, is going to be one of our speakers. And actually, Becky McRae said that she would do it for free. So I said, okay,
When is it?
do that. It's May 8th. It is going to be an invitation only to the economic developers. If you have anybody, but that's the agenda right there. If you have anybody, if you want Kelsey or someone in your office to attend, I'm happy to do that. We're just going to probably have anywhere from 15 to 20 of us get together. Nothing too overwhelming, but opportunity to network especially. There's going to be a lot of that. And then we do have a kind of brainstorming session that'll be an hour and 30 minutes afterwards where people can share ideas. But although the lunch before that is going to be an hour too, where people can share thoughts and ideas. I'm going to probably see if they can bring 3 tools that they use, and everybody kind of pull those resources together. And I think if we do a project, I wouldn't mind doing something AI related. It would be interesting. We could get something off the ground with that. But that's what we're doing for this. And then the plan is, if it's successful, it'll probably be something that rotates either twice a year or quarterly. My guess it's going to be more twice a year. So we'll have this one now that's in May, perhaps another one in November. And then I know that Weatherford was interested. It's called the North-West. So not Northwest, because we have some that are just solely north that are invited, and some that are just west. And so, but it's a bigger group. That's great to get together and see what we have. Any additional information that I get out of it, I'll be happy to pass it along to any of you who might have a desire to use, especially if there's some good resources. OG&E themselves has a lot of free data that you can get if you don't remember, but
That's good stuff.
some people pay like thousands of dollars, and they have a third-party consultant come along that sweet talks them, and then later realize they got ripped off because it was all free information.
Do you think it might be helpful to bring somebody in from USDA Rural Development for that, given what all's happening?
Possibly at the time, maybe we would consider. Right now, the agenda's pretty well set. We'll just see how things go, but it might be something to look at the next meeting if we do that. So if it is a quarterly, or if it's twice a year.
Okay.
I think it'll be great to just get them all together and see what they would like to have as the next topic of discussion. And
Yeah.
who knows, there may be somebody who will fund that too, since OG&E is doing this one.
Good. Any other Questions, discussion on that item? All right. Don't need to take any action, do we, Jeremy? That's
No.
just their meeting. Okay.
Yeah, that's just an
All right.
update.
We'll move on to number 6. How about giving us update action if we have a revolving loan fund through the USDA? Tell us
Yeah.
about what's going on there.
So I think most of you are aware of, I applied for a grant for, with USDA, was approved, just under $100,000 to start a revolving loan fund. We have started that, created the documents for it. When I say we, I want to give a special shout out to Haley Reagan, who's here. She has helped me with that. She has some banking background experience, so we both had worked on getting those documents done. Revolving Loan Fund Committee is established. They review the applications when they come in and make suggestions, but they're not the ones who make the decision because the industrial authority is the public trust. So they're the ones who make the decisions on it. We had 2 applications that have come through that were suggested through the Revolving Loan Fund Committee for approval with stipulations. They were submitted to the industrial authority who approved both of those applications. One will be kind of an expansion to a person's business. The other one will be a new business. That hopefully in Winoka, they have not released that. They're still finalizing the details there, so I didn't want to give out any names or anything yet, but there are 2 applications, so it's already becoming hopefully a success. You know, there'll be at least a new business and an expansion there with job creation involved.
So is the expansion also in Winoka, or is it?
No, that one's in Alva. So expansion in Alva. We had just received another application, have not reviewed it yet, but the banks are aware of the revolving loan funds. So since these are usually catered more towards the high risk, but with a lower interest rate, the banks, when they have one that they feel may be decent but not for them, they will submit to us.
If I remember, is there a cap on that?
Well, originally there was going to be a cap, but the industrial authority decided they did not want to have a cap on it, at least at this time. So that's where we're at. There is no minimum, and when I say there's no minimum, if somebody comes to me for $10, I mean, we're not going to do that, but there's no minimum amount and there's no maximum amount. We had made the suggestion to have a maximum amount, but they felt in some situations that they wanted to have it open.
I mean, 100,000 can only go so far. So
Right, exactly, yeah.
What interest rate? Or,
The interest rates, well, I can just tell you for the ones that
right.
we had
Just curious.
discussed, one's at a 3.5 and the other's a 4.5. So trying to keep it within that perhaps 2.5 to
Right.
6 range, which is obviously lower.
Yeah.
Um,
What kind of term are you looking at on those?
These are a 5-year.
5-year?
So they have the 5-year, but there are, as we're doing them and moving forward, I would like to see a cap opportunity, but with that stipulation of case-by-case basis. So I don't want to advertise it out there because obviously once the 100,000's eaten up, we're going to be waiting, and so we get back, 3 or 4 in 3 or 4 months, it's like it opens it up. We don't want to maybe necessarily use all of that as it comes. We want to give opportunities.
You don't want to box yourself in.
Yeah.
Leave you some flexibility.
Right. And of course, then again, you don't want it on a low where we give a whole bunch of low ones, because then that's all I'm doing is those. And so, it's kind of a fine line, but I would also maybe think revisiting the terms, perhaps a shorter time frame, especially if it's maybe a newer business as opposed to somebody who's been around a while. I think that would be good to visit. But we're structured in the right way moving forward. USDA has to approve these first few that do go through until we hit that 100,000. Once we hit the 100,000, then those funds are in our bank account. So we have to submit to them, they approve, and then they submit whatever funding was asked for to the bank. So that's where we're at. Not really a reimbursement, but more like just a request for payment, and then we in turn have them
Is
request.
there any kind of stipulations of the type of business?
There is only the stipulations that are against federal regulations. So with it being USDA, it can't be a dispensary, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, if the one thing that I ask them, because I always figure what's the best one to ask about when it comes to grants, and if it's available, a tattoo parlor. And they said, no, if you want to, and your desire, then you could. It is for profit. That's the key part. So if Freedom West was to come to me, we wouldn't be able to help there. It is
It
for
has to be a for-profit
profit.
business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Any other questions of Jeremy about this program? Sounds great. Okay, no action needed. Item 7, you're going to give us an update on the 2025 Lieutenant Governor's Turkey.
Yeah, so with the turkey hunts, got a great committee again, and I just basically the same as the last few years, just kind of go to our leaders, see if there's anybody they want to have that might benefit them, help them out, and with that, I always try to invite one or two that are consultants that would help us out. And with what we have, so I reach out to Avard, I reach out to yourself, I reached out to each of the mayors, and I reached out to somebody else. Oh, VAP. I reached out to VAP. And so VAP does have 2 people that they have coming from EPCO. We do have, with ABARD, they have Mallory with BNSF, so we have that coming. You have Dr. Brandon Tatum, who is coming.
And I might try to see if the new chancellor for the state regents wants to come as
Okay.
well.
Now, let me know. We are at our limit on. Okay, we're at our limit on inviting people, but we can invite yours because of our guests. I think 3 of them are not going to hunt, so the hunt part is filled.
Yeah.
And if they're not a hunter,
They're not gonna.
okay. If they're not, then we'll be good there.
It'd be basically for
Yeah.
dinner.
My number one thing, because we have somebody from Department of Commerce Department of Commerce asked if there was a person that we could have come. And I said, well, only if they're going to benefit our area. And it's a manufacturing business that's involved with wind turbines, and they put the shield, it's the shield that is put on these blades. And my thought is, will this be a business that comes our way? I mean, Department of Commerce already has sites that they're going to have them view. More than likely, those sites are probably Oklahoma City and Tulsa. That's my guess. However, because of the industry that it's in, I think it's great to go ahead and have them here, because that could lead to a smaller industry or a smaller, perhaps, partner of theirs that could complement for the Avard Industrial Park. But with anybody who's invited, I want to make sure we have somebody that will be able to not necessarily entertain them, but meet with them and talk with them. I don't want somebody just sitting there with nothing going on, because that defeats the whole purpose of what the turkey hunt was created for to begin with. So each one of our people that are coming, and we have someone from Nextera Energy that's coming that will be an Avard one to talk to. Wright Water Corporation, City of Alva, is going to be with them. And then another thing that what I started when I took this over was to give back to the community something where they could attend, because they just hear about turkey hunt, but it is selected guests that are invited to the dinner. The Friday Eggs and Issues is open to the public. I was able to talk to the assistant, I guess it's the lieutenant governor, and I asked, if he's going to be here this late, why not have him do an overnight and stick around? They have stated to me in an email that that will happen now. So the lieutenant governor is going to be here Friday morning, and he will talk. And I think he's going to, he may, depending on his time, try to visit with some of the area. So I don't know specifically where, but he will. Yeah, and that's one of the plans that I think perhaps even Cody Williams had talked to him, and he was interested in seeing his new establishment. So we might just kind of give a tour there. Depending on how much time he has, I'll push it as far as he wants to go. So if he wants to go to Winoka, then we'll bring him to America's Oasis and let him see Winoka. But that workshop that we're going to do on Wednesday is open to the public, and that's kind of the giving back to the businesses. So we have, and I also want to utilize our guests that we have to have them as speakers. So Chris Branham, who is part of Catalyst Commercial, and they're involved in the real estate development and not just commercial, but also residential. So he's going to speak. I saw him at NOAA, and had some conversations with Kay in regards of him, and I think those two will, be able to talk a little bit. But he will present one thing that we asked our businesses of what they would like to have. They really wanted some excitement and some energy, so we invited the Oklahoma Tax Commission to come and talk. That was my joke. So, but it is always great information. So that's one thing that they'll have. And then Roger Godwin, who was part of City Economics, who's the retail strategist that the City of Alva had hired. He's supposed to. Have you gotten a new date for?
I did get a new date today.
Oh, really?
It is,
Okay.
let me tell you exactly.
I know what you're talking
Did
about.
you get one too? Yeah, it's April 10th,
April 10th.
same time, and they already had it booked here, so I checked the room, but it was already booked, so they didn't go ahead and make
Okay.
before
Yeah. Well,
sending it out.
yeah, I'm a part of it too, but for some reason Roger always has to call me, and so, but what his plan or what it was supposed to be is he'll do that April 10th meetings, kind of a vision planning session, and then he'll present some of his findings at this workshop as well. So he will be the last speaker for this workshop, which will be 1 to 2. So if you don't make or have the ability to make it from the 11 to 1, the first two, you may want to make the 1 to 2 one, because I think it'll be interesting, especially if you're a part of what was asked. And there will be free lunch, so that's another reason to come.
Big dinner with the lieutenant governor, that's the Thursday night.
That's the
And
Thursday.
where are they holding that one at?
It'll be at Sherrill Bar.
At the bars.
It is gonna be there again, okay.
So, yeah, the lieutenant governor himself usually, coming from Woodward, gets there about 7:30, and that's what they expected again this time after talking to his staff. And then that Thursday, and anybody that's on this committee is welcome to attend, but that Thursday we're going to start at the Alva Beer Company. That'll be lunch. That'll be probably around 11:30, and then we're going to go to Winoka, and we're going to more than likely see the Harvey House. We'll see in case there's changes there, but we'll visit the Harvey House, and then we're going to go to America's Oasis, and then there will be side-by-sides to take them out onto the actual dunes, and maybe like 15-minute intervals. But that's our excitement thing. We don't want to get them drunk, so we take a different path than some others may do. But
Jeremy, will you send that kind of a schedule out to us? So
yeah, I can send after this meeting, I can send what is the itinerary.
Perfect.
Keep in mind there might be a little change here and there, like we meet at 11 at Alabama Company instead of 11:30 or something like that. Yeah.
Eggs and issues on Friday.
Yeah, eggs and issues is the one. The legislators and the lieutenant governor, like I said, will be there.
That's great.
So, and that will be here. Eggs and issues will be. The chamber pretty much heads that one. I went on ahead and asked for the lieutenant governor's help. Again, the chamber has, I guess, recruited Haley to do a lot of that work, and she has, and she's been doing great. So I've been helping out any way that she needs it, but she's kind of taken the role of what the chamber's portion is on these, and has been doing a good job with that. That's really all I have. If you need a list, and if you do want me to invite somebody,
I'll check with them.
yeah, that'll be no problem there.
Okay. Great. Any other questions, discussions about the turkey hunt? Okay. Now, item 8. WCIDA update, Jeremy.
For the industrial authority, Plains Plastics is in our airport building, and they are now directly the tenants there, so we have them. All the buildings that we have are filled. There's only 3, but they're filled. The Arch Rock approached me about possibly extending their lease. I had pointed out that there would be an increase in that, and they were fine with it. So there's a small increase on the lease there, and their lease actually doesn't end until October of this year, but they wanted to go ahead and extend that. So that's what's happened there. The Industrial Authority this morning approved their annual pledge of the $7,500 to the Economic Development Committee. So that check is actually in my office, and after this meeting here, after I type up the minutes, I'll be heading on to do my errands and cashing that. That's the bulk of what's been going on there. Obviously, the revolving loan fund, but I shared all that with you.
Is the infrastructure, the money that we received they received for that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's that?
It's at the DEQ phase right now. So the ARPA funds that are for the Avard Park are solely for water and sewage, and it's Myers Engineering that is the one who's doing that. And so they're just waiting for the studies and the approval, and then the next phase, from my understanding, is the construction. So that everything is going by the timeline that's needed.
Because it still has to be done by the age of 26.
Yeah. Now, prep is a very weird one. Prep is actually Oklahoma funds that were ARPA funds. So it's gone through that whole process of not having any issues, and it has more opportunity to do things. One thing that was done, obviously, land acquired so we can build the industrial park, the new industrial park. With that said, because it went through legislation, it had like a due date that comes up in March, at the end of March. But the expansion is supposed to be there, and that expansion is expected to go to 2027. So, but it's really, the prep funds are there for any additional stuff that ARPA wasn't able to cover, and then an opportunity to see what would be the best thing to use the additional funding, what would benefit. Examples of that, it could be anything from transportation improvement to a building. So it just really depends. But we haven't got to that part yet.
How much time are you spending with all of that on average per month?
No, I don't know, but it's a good chunk. Yeah, everything's so sporadic. I'd say, at least on a weekly basis, it could be 5 hours, it could be 10 hours. I'd say, minimum is 5.
So
it could be
anywhere
more.
between 20 and 40 a month?
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
that's fair.
Okay.
I do the reporting, so everything that comes to me, and then I do my part of it, the economic development. So I've reached out to a couple of possible businesses that might have interest, or perhaps fields of business. There were some topics that were touched. We had that whole thing about hydrogen that was brought up. So I reached out and we talked to somebody about hydrogen, and so I bring them in so we can. I'm trying to do the forward thinking, because when 2026 rolls, it would be great. Wouldn't it be great to have somebody who's okay? We're interested, and they were interested now, and then they're interested. So that's why with some of these guests, Nextera, or the one recently, like I was telling you with that wind turbine, we can show them this is what we have and this is when it will be completed. And so I do a lot of that. Those are the things where it's hard to keep track of, being on a phone for 2 hours,
Right.
not meaning to be on the phone for 2 hours, and then of course after I'm done with that, I'll call the chairman and say, hey, I just had this conversation. Do we want to pursue this further? And so we do. And sometimes Stan and myself will go out there and bring somebody. We just recently had somebody come fly in, and we had a good sit-down meeting. Probably spent most of our day with him, and brought him out there, and then he, is responding back to us. We'll see.
Gotcha.
But that's usually with that. And yeah, I don't think there's much left on the Industrial Development Authority. So
Okay.
what my notes have, yeah.
Anyone else have any questions of Jeremy, or anything else you want to know about that? Okay, item 9. Woods County Economic Development Committee Executive Director Report.
Well, I give the reports each month. The best thing I can just say on any of this stuff is if you want further information, more detailed information, just let me know. Anything that recently I did go to the AI Summit last Friday, and found some interesting items on that. There's a lot of things being developed, and I think you're going to find ChatGPT is the top of it. And I forgot what the actual company is. There's so many that they throw at you. AI.
OpenAI.
Do what?
OpenAI.
Is that? Yeah, I think that's right. OpenAI. So, but then there's Copilot, there's Gemini, there's Gamma. So each one of these. In fact, with Kay, I helped her with a presentation recently, and it was with Gamma, and it was AI PowerPoint presenter.
I had the data set.
Yeah.
And then it just took it from there. And it saved me a boatload of time.
And
Jeremy
I created about four slides for you that were on my own
Right.
creation, because it wasn't grabbing that format that we wanted. So, but for the overall, I would say it saved 4 hours, 5 hours at
Yeah,
least.
It was,
That's excellent.
it was a big time save. I knew what needed to be in there and I knew where to get it, but if I'd had to build that by myself, it would have taken me every bit of 2 full days.
I use AI as an assistant for a lot of things. If I want the start of a business plan to be creative. There's one person, a new business came to me and I said, well, let me help you out here. And I told them what we need to do, and we started plugging in stuff and said, this is it's gonna be great because it's gonna save you a lot of time. But you can never trust AI.
Right.
Like, you cannot sit there and say, AI, create me a business plan, and then say, okay, here's my business plan, bank, I'm gonna turn it in.
Yeah, without looking at it.
You've got to
Right.
review.
You have
and-
to know what
and-
you want it to do.
And also, I can tell when something's AI created. There's been an emails, a lot of people create emails with AI now. And if you see best regards at the bottom of the email, the likelihood is it was created by AI. Somebody said, I
I've been
need,
using that forever and it's not AI
Well,
for me. I'll have to change
okay,
mine.
they took your,
I'm
they
gonna
took
have
your
to
thing.
change mine.
Yeah, but best regards is what AI generates, and in certain things like bullet points, dashes, and that was part of what the AI Summit talked about. There are a lot of people, if you go for grants, if you're creating it through AI, you have to filter through it because they even say that any AI generated grant application will be completely kicked out.
Yeah.
Now, how do they determine that? Here's the funny thing. They have AI that can tell you if this was an AI generated, so they put it through AI to see if it is. But it is, a lot of it's interesting, and you can actually take AI, create that grant application, then put it through an AI humanizer, is what it's called, and it will make it more human. And so it's almost like, it feels so illegal, but it's like filtering and laundering money.
There's a fine line.
There really is at some point. But I like to use it, especially as an assistant, because it'll get things started. There's some things that it can do and save me time, and then I can go through and read that out. Haven't done it yet on this, but I think I'm going to start when I give you the monthly reports. I'm just going to, because what I do is I go to my calendar and I see what all I've done. I go to my emails to see what, maybe there's something else that's there, and it'll
Best regards,
do
that's
it.
all I look for.
Yeah, look for my best regards. Yeah. But that was very interesting, and the one comment I said before the meeting, but the one thing they said is people are not going to lose their jobs to AI, but they will lose their jobs to people who know the AI and how to use it. So, and I think AI right now is kind of like when dispensaries were instantly legal, and there was like 50 of them on every single community in town, but those weeded themselves out to where the best ones were still around. That's how AI is going to be. Somebody's going to be the top dog in PowerPoint presentation. Canva's already announced, I think it is April 10th, but they announced that there's going to be a big thing in Los Angeles of what they are about to do. And it's more than likely going to be a whole AI Canva generated. Right now they have their Dream Lab, and it'll create pictures for you, so you can sit there and say, I need a picture of a dog riding a horse, and it will do that. And you can say, I need it animated. I don't need it animated, and it will do that. And if you want to put it in a presentation, you can do that. But I have a feeling it's going to be more where they will develop and create whatever it is that you want. And so, but it's supposed to be some rather large announcement. And that's really all I have in regards to that. The business consultations that I always put on my monthly report, they're confidential, but I can give you an idea if you're like, is this something that's being looked at? And I tell every single business consultation whenever I do one, I like, look at what we do is confidential, but if my board does ask something, what am I allowed to share? So they said, oh yeah, I'm looking at opening a restaurant, and I can say, okay, can I share that a restaurant? And they say, sure. Or they say, no, please don't. And then I just give you that there's a consultation that was done.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of Jeremy? Okay, thank you. Any new business?
Do you want to talk about your thing, Kay? Since you handed it out.
Oh, just that this is going, at least for the time being, the contract and Woods County Economic Development is a partner with this. Jeremy built the Excel spreadsheet for me. I'm not an Excel genius and I know how to input data, but we're using this is grant funded stuff, and right now all the money is frozen. So we'll just have to see what happens, but anyway, it's working out pretty well. And I gave each one of you guys one of the folders so you can kind of know what Comanche Pool is.
Thank you, Kay.
Yep.
Okay. Announcements. Anything we need to? All right. 12. Jeremy, you want to take us out? Roll call it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second.
Second.
All right, moved in second. Any discussion? I doubt. Okay, 12:46. Jeremy, you want to take a roll call? Just make it official.
If I don't, you all have to stay.
Yeah.
Eaton,
Yes.
Hannaford,
Yes.
Lieber,
Yes.
Decker.